Tony D and Little Joan with a screenwriter's rant on Your Friends and Neighbors, starring John Hamm as a rich dude who loses all his money and then resorts to robbing his friends and neighbors. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books. The links are in the description. Comedy horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys. Books 1 through 17. Available at Amazon.com. Don't forget Kindle Unlimited is free. So John Hamm is going down the tubes financially, but then he realizes all his rich friends have a bunch of stuff that they buy and they almost never use. And so he decides he's going to start stealing it. And then he does. And it keeps him afloat because nobody would suspect him. I don't know if it's based on a true story. It might be. So he starts doing that, but the next thing you know, he starts getting into trouble. And eventually the cops are on his tail. He's got an ex-wife who's mad at him. He's got kids who are growing up. So yeah, I don't mind this premise. It fits with John Hamm's deal. Like, it's a good casting call. Streaming April 11th. I feel like it should be a mini-series of some kind. But I'm not sure. Let's look it up on the IMDb. I think it might be. Your Friends and Neighbors. There it is. Amanda Post is also in it. Yeah, it's a show. So a hedge fund manager resorts to burglary after losing his job, targeting wealthy neighbors to maintain his family's lifestyle, but makes a fateful error, breaking into the wrong home. Creator is Jonathan Tropper. It's got John Hamm, Amanda Peet, Olivia Munn. Man, Olivia Munn looks really great at it, by the way. She plays his girlfriend or his mistress. I'm not sure. But John Hamm, like, they kind of didn't know what to do with him for a while. They put him in stuff, and I would question that. Like, I didn't think it was a good casting call to make him Fletch. You know, that was the old Chevy Chase vehicle. And they made him Fletch, and it just kind of came and went. This is good because it feels like the kind of role John Hamm has played before. It feels like, you know, a madman-esque type character, right? A character who's rich, he's living in the corporate world. I mean, he has that look about him. He's not really an action guy. He's more of a, you know, corporate guy. And he seems to fit those roles. When they try to get him out of those roles, I don't know if it fits as well. You know, he's handsome enough that he maybe could have made the leap to action movies if he wanted to. I mean, you could imagine him playing a role, for instance, if they had recast Indiana Jones, right? Like, he could have been Indiana Jones, sure. He would have had to have maybe gotten better shape and, you know, done a few low-budget action films just to kind of build up his cred in that area. But I think he could have done it. He has a look for it. But this one, he has the look for it. And it's not, you know, it's not a comedy, but there's some comedic elements in it. So I would totally check it out. I don't know how long it could last. That's the problem. You know, I think it would be better as a movie. But as a series, you know, the problem with series 2 is this. You know, when you're doing the series, it's all about getting renewed. All about getting renewed and renewed and renewed and renewed until you reach that magic number of syndicated TV shows where you're going to make the most money. And so because of that, the financial incentive tends to distort the narrative in that, well, in order to get renewed, you have to promise your audience something in the not too distant future that's going to be even bigger than what you've been watching. And every time you promise that, you have to deliver, or you won't get it in the third season, and the fourth season, and the fifth season. And so that kind of drives the narrative into places that don't necessarily work or make it realistic. So to give you an example, if you watch Breaking Bad, right? And Breaking Bad's considered pretty high end. If you watch the first season, it's pretty slow. It's a pretty slow first season. And I would say, and I dropped out in the first season. I got about 6 episodes in, and I was like, man, this isn't funny. Where is this going? It's taking forever. And I dropped out at first. But then everybody said, no, you got to stick with it. You got to stick with it. And then eventually I went back and I watched it, and I realized, oh, no, this is really good. Because the arc in Breaking Bad is almost a very slow burn. But it never backs off of that. So once you've gone forward, you're not going backwards in Breaking Bad. However, you're going forward at a very steady but slow pace. In most shows, however, the producers panic. If they don't have a multi-year commitment, then they have to get some ratings to justify their existence. And that can cause them to accelerate the narrative past what it should be. So in a show like this, where's it going to end? Well, the ending should be something like he gets caught by the cops finally, right? So once he's caught by the cops, this is a different kind of show. So you don't want him caught by the cops if you're writing this narrative. The ideal situation is he's not caught by the cops until the very end. Like a real danger of the cops happens at the end. And if you approach it from that perspective as a writer, it's a different paradigm, right? In other words, he would be stealing stuff in the first season, the second season, in every episode, and there'd be very little chance of him getting caught, right? There'd be some, but after a while you'd realize, man, this guy ain't ever getting caught because he's good at it. No one suspects him. He lives in that world, and the people whose stuff he's stealing can't even keep track of it. They have so much. So then the narrative has to sort of shift into something else, right? You got to focus. Yeah, you have this guy stealing stuff, but you also have to focus on other things other than the cops might finally be onto him. Or that sort of storyline is a back burner storyline. The cops are kind of onto him, but not really. It doesn't look like they're ever going to catch up to him anytime soon. And that's the way Breaking Bad unrolled, right? Like Walter, no one suspected Walter for a very long time. And then he was so deep, so far into it. And then you have that amazing scene with his brother-in-law discovering the book. And only his brother-in-law would get that. And when he realized that, it's a huge moment. So this is the kind of show where that could happen. But if you accelerate it too fast in the first season, like he's almost caught or he gets arrested, you really got a bad situation to undo with this guy, right? So then you have to undo the situation. Oh, there's not enough evidence, or somebody else is blamed for the robbery. But then you have a situation in which now people would suspect him. He was already accused once and he was arrested. So you might want to, as the writer, stay away from that. But you can't, because you need the ratings at the end of that first season in order to get the second season. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know. It might be worth your time investing in it. And this is the sort of calculation for people who watch TV still and binge stuff on Apple TV or anywhere else. Is it worth binging? Now, I'll say it right now. I don't think Severance is worth it. I think Severance has already pumped it up way too high, and I think they're going to fail to deliver on the ending. That's my prediction. This show, the stakes are pretty low. If they can avoid pumping up the stakes too far in the first couple of seasons, it could be a great show. It could be. Will it be? I don't know. I don't know. And that's the other problem too, right? So people like me who are more discerning on this stuff, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till first season, second season, maybe even third season before I say, okay, everybody's raving about the show. Let me check it out. But by that time, they may be thinking of canceling it. And that's really a problem with television. Because you got to make it to your next season. So, anyhow, I know that wasn't much on the analysis of the actual show. But that's kind of the calculation in my own brain. But that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. Check us out on the green site, the orange site, and the black site. Thanks to all who came out to the Haddonfield Senior Center today. That was a great crowd. They're in a very historical building over there in Haddonfield, so it was kind of cool. Got some free pizza and got to meet the folks there. I had almost no books, unfortunately. My Amazon shipment is slowly trickling in today. Next up for me is ReplayCon in Hamilton, New Jersey, and I'm expecting book 17 to be dropped off on my doorstep at some point today. So I should have book 17, but I am out of a lot of stuff, a lot of other issues. So I'm going to have to order some more books for the following weeks. But I'm very psyched for book 17 to fall into my lap so I could finally smell the new print. Anyhow, hope to see you at ReplayCon this weekend, Saturday from 9 to 5 in Hamilton. We'll see you in the next one.